I just want to see that boy struggle with the phone bill and the light bill. That's how I feel. Welcome, boys. Welcome to another video game here, our Pony channel. I am your host, Tyler Bean. Come in, Island. It's been a little bit, probably just like a week, honestly, so not super long. I played Saros, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Not only did I play Saros, but I beat Saros, and it was really, really good. So I won't take too long as far as like breaking this down or anything like that. I'll give you like a kind of condensed what I think, if I think you should play it, and what I just would rate the game as a whole. We played a lot of games this year, and just going through kind of things that we've already talked about this year. Mouse PI was very good. I've played Invincible Versus, but getting back to it, Saros. So, Saros, it is a, I guess you could say, third-person bullet hell, roguelite kind of style of game where you play as Arjun. I don't know his last name. And you're going through this weird, like clips setting, right? I guess you could kind of say. I want to kind of avoid spoilers until the latter half of the review. And Arjun, basically, he's searching for a bunch of people, right? He's searching for his crew. He's also searching for, there's a girl named Nydia who he's searching for. And as the story progresses, right, find more and more out about Arjun, find more and more out about the things he's done, more and more about the other teams. And there's a cool robot, AI robot, that I'm thinking about. I'm like, it's pretty cool. I like the design of the robot, and just as a whole, right? I love the game. I thought the atmosphere was cool. Pretty much anytime Sony touches something and it's on PlayStation, it's gotta be. That's all I gotta say. It's gotta be. That's what Souls was one game. Shadow of the Colossus was another one. Even though I think they shut down that studio. Silent Hill, they didn't make it. That wasn't a Sony game, but like just the remasters and things like that for PlayStation. It was really good. So let me talk about some pros, and then we'll get into the cons, and then I'll get into just like the story as a whole, right? So pros, I really, really like the graphics. This is the same developers as RETURNAL. So RETURNAL, I played a couple years ago, and some people were voting it as the game of the year of that year. It was very, very good. Same kind of layout, ever-changing biomes, progressive story, a lot of mystery, and as you keep playing, you unlock kind of key things. I would say it's kind of like a Metroidvania style, where you go through a level and you can't get to a section, but then once you beat the boss, you get a little bit further, you get an unlockable that helps you get through other portions of the earlier biomes, right? And so then what I was doing initially was I would do like long runs because I was having a really good time. So I would go from biome 1 all the way through and then get to a certain boss. There were kind of like, as I kept progressing, there were certain bosses that once you get there, you can't keep progressing. So that kind of stunk. I'm not going to take a point off of that or anything. That's just kind of how they designed it. But I do wish that, going back and looking back on it now, that I could go from boss 1 all the way until like the latter boss at the very end. You kind of get into a part, and this isn't spoilers, that for the final boss and to like beat the game, it's just like a straight run through. You can't, and what I mean by that is like you have to go to the one section and you can't go with the others, or you can't like go through like the biomes. You have to just go and do the final boss. So that kind of was a buzzkill. The replay value is very high. I had, at the time of this recording, I think I had about 32 hours in Saros, which is a little bit under, honestly. I usually put about 40 hours when I review a game. But this one, I was just going straight through. And a couple of those sessions, right, like we were cracked. By the end, I got to like level 100 on one session, and I was just melting everything. And it was really good. So I think the control scheme was really cool. There's a cool portion of this game, and especially in the latter half, where you have to start using the shield, and there's this mechanic called corruption that it can't kill you, but it nerfs your total amount of health that you have to like utilize. So, but it doesn't kill you. But right, like if you have a bunch of corruption, then you get tapped by a hit that can kill you, you'll die immediately. So that happened a little bit with me. But you can kind of manipulate that where you're getting it like fuels a lot of your perks and your special abilities. So you can kind of like again work with it. And there's like modifiers and things like that too that allow you to like loot corruption faster. So I was tinkering with that. I think gameplay wise, like I said, in graphics, it was very, very high and I was enjoying it significantly. I think that if you are interested pretty much at all playing the game, it's worth a play. The $60 price points, you know, is this $70? Is this a game that you can wait to play? Or what I always recommend, again, physical media and trading towards games, right? I think you can wait on this one. I think this is like a $40 to $50. However, if you're looking for a game to play with your PlayStation Pro, I had it on a disc on my PlayStation Pro with all the graphics and everything like that. I do think that it's worth it. Some cons, right? Because it can't all just be roses, right? I think that it got a little bit repetitive as far as like enemy design. I think Returnal even suffered with this as well. So like basically Returnal, at the end, I'm gonna start spoiling some stuff. At the end, you find out that it was your daughter that died, and that like you were the astronaut. That you're like, oh, you killed your daughter, and you're kind of stuck in this loop, etc. I really enjoyed the plot twist in Returnal, where you leave and then you basically die, and as you're getting lowered into the casket, you wake up back on the planet like you never left. I loved that plot twist, and it just really made me want to play the game more. I feel like Saros kind of wasn't as good as a story as Returnal, but the enemies specifically, like they kind of started looking the same. You start like to see the interactions with the enemies, that they are significantly different, the projectiles that they shoot and all that kind of stuff, right, etc. But I just feel like, yeah, I don't know, like the designs even like the last boss, I was like, this kind of looks like boss. And the story compared to Returnal, a little bit boring once you start getting on the latter half. At first, when you're starting to figure out everything and your crew is starting to go like a little bit stir crazy and all this stuff, like I was really immersed. It had a lot of like alien vibe to it, where everybody like the paranoia, or the thing, where like paranoia is starting to set in, and you're like, I don't know who's gonna be next, and you're starting to get like familiarized. But again, the biomes and like the world as a whole, it was very, very good. I had one crash, and I'll put this under a con, because I think at an $70-$80 price point, that I just 2026, if we're having crashing, what is going on, you know? Now this is not anywhere near Borderlands as far as like crashing, or even like Cyberpunk, right? But there was a crash nonetheless, and it was like this one moment, and maybe I'll find it in the footage, but there was this one moment where I had a bunch of enemies in like a big like group, and I used my big like overdrive or whatever it's called, and it just blew up everything and just shut down my game. What? But it did save everything, you know? And one thing I will gripe about is that the weapon selection was very good, as well as the powers, but I just wish that there was like 1 to 2 more, you know? There was a certain point in the latter half that, and again, spoilers guys, you get like this like lava kind of thing that's like a beam, and it does more damage based off your corruption. And I just wish like I got to that, I was like, oh sweet, we got another weapon. But I just wish that there was like 1 to 2 more after that. So what there was variants on the, we'll say a variance on the silhouette of what the weapon was. So you get a shotgun, or you get a crazy shotgun, right, that does like ripples. Same in Returnal. This one, it had like this like weapon that like shoots like shuriken and stuff like that, and then there's one that's a taser. I watched Maximilian Dude play, and there's one that built his overdrive gauge like crazy fast, so he's just spamming overdrive. And then honestly, I didn't like really like that weapon, so I don't think I got that variant. Something I was a fan of, and I keep going back to it, was there's a priestess level where you have to like hit these like harmonic kind of things, and I think that whole boss was really, really cool. It was unique. There was a platform kind of section to it. I I didn't think I was gonna like parrying as much as I did, but I thought it was really, really nice as far as like mechanic wise, because once you like daze an enemy, you get to a certain point, you can just like teleport strike certain enemies that are dazed and confused. And so that was really, really like good to, like, it felt good to be able to land a parry and like a strike, and you just dash and you're kind of zipping all over the place. So that it was really, really fun. I think as like final verdict, and I've been thinking about it a little bit, I think I'm gonna give this game a 9. Okay, take a point from it from all those other things I kind of already griped about, how the enemies were a little bit repetitive, game story was kind of meh, but I don't think with all the like, successes that it brought to the table as a PlayStation, I think it's a PlayStation exclusive, and just like a Sony like first party game, like they did really, really good in their bag. I don't know if there's gonna be a third one. The way that it ended kind of was ambiguous, you know. We're in the latter section of the video, so if you've made it this far, we're gonna start getting into spoilers. Arjun basically just became like a he wasn't a good guy, and I was kind of getting that deal. I was getting that just from the earlier play sessions. My boy Stax, who I think was the bald Asian guy, he was gonna go crazy. I knew Stax was going nuts from the very beginning when he was left. Why do you have paints in space? I knew exactly as soon as we are trillions of miles away from Earth, and you have paint on you, and that's your thing you want to paint. I knew he was going to be one of the first people to go crazy. His captain goes crazy. The only person that didn't go crazy was Kayla, and me and Kayla, we didn't have the best rapport, right? She was kind of a Debbie Downer, killing my vibe. Turns out Kayla was the only one that hated out here. Oh, so Kayla knew what they were doing. Arjun was nuts. I did like the ending where like he basically like sacrificed it all for just what he wanted, and what he wanted was not good for him, you know. It's kind of like you can make it a metaphor for like drug abuse or like just abuse as a whole, right? I think their dynamic you go and see from the point of view of Nydia, that he was not a good person. He was abusive like his father. Maybe not to her, but just in general with like alcohol and things like that. And it wasn't a healthy relationship. So he dipped, right? He didn't like that. He's like, I need what I need. And then he said, by any means, right? And then he ends up becoming the king. King was just like sitting on his throne alone, right? So that whole visual, and I probably can find it here, of like the ending where the circle and the ring and things like that. I really, really liked that symbolism. Final secret ending was kind of like meh. It was better than the ending that you get initially. Visually wise, it was good, but like the way that it hits at the end of beating a 30-hour game, I was like, story wise, I just feel I don't really know what they could have done differently. I really like Primary. I like the voice actor, and I love the sound design of this. That's another thing I'll give. Like, you just really like it was I think graphically, and this is why I'm going to solidify it as a 9, this might be the best graphic game I've ever played. Just wholeheartedly. Like, between the particle effects and the movement and the speed and the amount of enemies that are on, and then you have all these other like variant kind of styles. Loading times are basically non-existent, right? So a lot of movement mechanics and ways to kind of just keep going. I did vibe with it a lot, and I'd say it's a solid 9 out of 10, maybe even a 9. I don't like to do 9.5, like half, so I'm just gonna commit to a 9, but it's very close to a 10. I just feel like for me, a 10, one, I ended up just selling this game after I was done with it. I ended up getting some other stuff with it. I'm not, the replay wise, I'm like, I'm good. You know, after 30 hours, I was pretty good, and I love like the haptic feedback was really good with the vibrations and things like that. This is a good first party game. Interested in playing Saros, just period, I would recommend it. Would recommend it to a friend who's enjoys roguelites. And then if you like this game, you should go play Returnal, because again, I think Returnal's story was just far superior. Graphic wise, pace, and like atmosphere, I think I still would give it to Saros. But the storyline specifically, I think I'd just give that to Returnal, because there's something about that, like, that repeat kind of thing was, like, nuts. You have kind of similar mechanics in this one, but just, like, how they tied it with Returnal, I'm like, I just think that was so nuts. That the world is making you return versus, like, a device that your girlfriend made that like traps her consciousness and things like that, you know? Nydia kind of became a plot device is what it felt like. And then at the end, you're like, I don't care that she's not my girlfriend anymore and you're still trapped out here, you know, type shit. So I am curious what everybody else thought. I had pretty good feedback as far as like other people who I know playing it, and they also thought really highly of it. So if you like this game, please let me know what you think. What was your favorite part of Saros? What didn't you like about Saros? Leave a comment below. I will be back with more reviews in the future. And like always, guys, make sure you follow and share with a friend. And if you enjoy the content here, like and sub. But until next time, appreciate y'all. Bye-bye.